Today we are joined by my friend Rick Clemons, the coming out coach. Welcome to midlife, Rick.
Yeah, it is midlife. I'm a little bit farther in that midlife, but hey, ever since this all happened, you hit 40. I'm loving it. I'm gonna tell you,
Right?
my 40s, my 50s, 60s are actually interesting, but even better because I don't give a shit anymore. So you know,
I love it. And so I say this every single time, but I'm going to say it again. We do not age discriminate on this podcast. I actually just invited a woman in her 20s who I saw speak at an event who blew me away, and she said yes, so hopefully she's going to come on the podcast. We don't
that's
discriminate
awesome.
because all of us have points of view and value to bring to the midlife conversation. And yes, to what you're saying, like the 40s were good, the 50s are good so far. I'm excited to hear that the 60s, like, I'm ready for, like, I have few F's to give. We can say fuck on this.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm looking forward to fewer. The one thing that I'm just gonna, well, a couple things. The aches and pains are real. My CBD cream is always at the ready.
Yes, amen, amen.
Yes. And hormones and sleep, hormones and sleep. I have the
Oh,
best hormone doctor out there, and I'm still struggling with my sleep. So
yep,
anyone who
yep.
wants to give me recommendations, we welcome them.
And the sleep, I take CBD. I thought it was my best friend. Ain't my best friend. It's kind of like my body's like, nope, that ain't gonna work neither, boy. So it is
Yeah.
what it is. My pain is sciatica. I just like, oh my God, I'm going on 14 months of this sciatica journey, and we've been trying everything. So in fact, I'm getting ready to get on a flight, and I have my special pillow, and everybody's like, what is that guy blowing up on the plane? I'm like, it is my way to be able to fly long distance without going, I can't get out of my seat when I get there. I want to be able to
Yes.
get up and go on vacation. So
This
anyway.
is so real. So and we'll get to the questions, but I love these real conversations. Oh, and I haven't even plugged in my microphone, so let me do that. We'll have even better sound now.
See, this is what happens, audience, in midlife. We forget to do things too. So,
We forget, and it's right here. Yes, that is so true. I hike and I do Pilates because at this age, I can't do super strenuous because like I'm just achy. And my goal is Pilates twice a week. But man, some weeks my body's like, girl, don't do it, don't do it. And most of the
do
time I'm
it.
glad I do it when I do it. But I'm paining today because I did it twice this week and it was hard. And I aspire to do Pilates twice a week and have it not hurt. It's good
Yeah,
hurts. I don't think
it's
that's
good
realistic
hurts.
because I just have
Yeah,
an achy, painy body, even with all the anti-inflammatory diet, blah, blah, blah. So here we are.
yeah. Here we are. Yeah, I
Here,
swim, I cycle, and
yeah.
that, for the most part, does the job. I do weights. I don't invest in a big gym anymore. I'm like, I am a Planet Fitness $10 a month guy, which I was like, oh my gosh, it's gone up to $15 a month. Poor people. But I'm like, for $10 a month, if I show up once a week, I'm getting my money's worth. That's the way I look at it.
Exactly, exactly, and that's the beauty of midlife is finding what works for us, finding the sleep rhythms, finding the movement practices, finding the mindset practices, and so we're gonna talk about some of that today with you, because you and I have known each other a long time. It's fun to reconnect at this era of our lives,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and we've talked about how midlife is kind of like the ultimate wake-up call, which can be both freeing, less fucks to give, yes, please, but also
Yes.
confronting.
Oh, very confronting.
So, yeah. So, as the coming out coach, as a gay man, as someone who counsels all kinds of people, actually, but like specifically speaking to gay men, um, for men who may be just coming to terms with their sexuality in midlife, what does the midlife wake up call look and feel like?
It takes on so many facets. It can be,
Yeah.
I'm just not in the relationship the way I want to be. If I'm married, married in a heterosexual space, seeing other people and their joy and their happiness and going, gosh, I wish I had that. Sometimes it is truly the sexual desire. Again, let's be honest. And I hate to
Yeah.
say that one because that's where everybody defaults. It's like, oh, they just really want to be with a man. okay, yeah, that's part of it. But part of it is probably the biggest piece, Lisa, is I don't feel aligned with me. And it can take on a lot of flavors in that alignment. It can be the career doesn't feel right, the relationship doesn't feel right, the body doesn't feel right, the desires don't feel right. But there's always one thing out of all those things I've been listing and many more. That's kind of like,
Right.
here's the domino, boom, the domino hits, and it's like, yes, this me being in my sexual alignment. If that thing was aligned, I think other things would start to align as well. And
Right,
that's usually
or
what
I
happens.
could let go of the grip on the other things and maybe it wouldn't matter so much.
Mm-hmm.
It could be either or, I feel like, to your
Absolutely.
point, when that big domino, whatever that I sometimes say, like, it's the devil or demon we've been dodging the longest, that, like,
Mm-hmm.
when we finally wrestle with it, it's like, "Oh, the other stuff really doesn't matter."
No, it doesn't. And you know my story. I mean, I came out, and honestly, Lisa, and we've had this conversation, but I think it'll help your listeners. If somebody had told me in 1999 that I would take this journey of coming out and going through divorce and really being who I was, would turn into a business, a
Yes.
notoriety, and all that, I would have said, "You're absolutely effing crazy. Nope, it ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen."
Ooh, okay, so how old were you when you came out officially?
So officially, for the second time, I was 36. I came out at 19 to my parents, and it was like,
Okay.
nope, that's not happening. You're not going to do that. And I wasn't,
Okay.
let's just say I wasn't mature enough or awake enough in myself to go, let's move forward, because I was
Okay.
petrified. I was a church
But good
boy,
for you for coming out to your parents at that age, that's so brave.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it was like, so it was actually right at the beginning of the AIDS epidemic. So there was all of that, like, oh, don't know, get weird, all that sort of stuff going on. But it was like, I knew I had to do it because
Yeah.
it was my truth. Hiding the truth
Yes.
became the harder part that led me to finally at 36 saying, I cannot do that. I got to be me. I
So,
got to be who I am.
at 36, did you revisit that conversation with your parents?
Well, I didn't revisit. I just said, this is who I am.
Yeah,
And it
okay.
was, again,
And
it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. I mean,
it
for almost
was. Wow.
probably for a good, initially a good 3 to 4 years, there was a lot of, we're just tolerating you. And then things
Wow.
started to shift. And it's ironic that we're having this conversation because I was literally at my parents' this past weekend. And I just went solo. My husband didn't go with me because he had to work. And
Yeah.
the conversations, we really wish George was here. We got to get it to where George can be with you. He's such a good son-in-law. There were moments, Lisa, where I was like, am I in some other altered reality right here,
Right?
right now? But yes, it's been a beautiful journey. It's been a tough journey. And I think that when
Yeah.
you're in midlife, if I was going to bring anything to your listeners that starts to really like, here's what you can learn from the coming out coach, is to realize whatever that closet door is that you're opening in midlife is exactly the closet door that you've been wanting, desiring. I'm not going to say need. You don't need to. You don't need to
Right.
open that door. But that desire, that wanting, that alignment
The
is the thing
alignment.
that's at the core of all of it.
Yes, I so get this. So I saw my 85-year-old father this week, went to go visit him. I check in on him from time to time. He and I had lunch, lovely lunch, and we went really real. Like, it was a beautiful conversation. But part of our conversation, and you know this part of my journey, I used to be in my own business. I went back to corporate. I'm now back in my own business. And my dad, who knows me really well, was like, "Oh, Lisa, you don't want to go back to corporate. That's not you. Like, you're a creative. Like, who are you kidding?" Like, and I was like, the fact that my father sees me and can say that to me and love me and like all this, it was just so beautiful because I know that, but like, to have him
Mhm.
who's like, be steady, be stable, do the like, climb the ladder. Like, everyone in my family has had a paycheck every 2 weeks their entire career. It's so
Right.
embraced that he said that, but I also was laughing and I was like, "Yeah, dad, but that matching 401k is real good."
It is real good. It
I was
is
like, in
real good.
midlife, we
Trust
think
me.
about these things.
We do. We think differently. But you know, at least I'm so glad you brought that story up, because one of the biggest turning points in my relationship with my parents, but more specifically with my father, was
Yes.
probably probably 10 or 11 years ago, and he had a stroke. And so I hopped
Okay.
on a plane. They live in northern Idaho. I hopped on a plane and I went up there. And it was still, we were in a little bit of like, every once in a while we didn't really see eye to eye. Okay. Walk up, and I go to the hospital, and my mom says, hey, you know, his nurse is in there with him right now. As soon as the nurse comes out, you can go in. So I went in, and she goes, I'm going to leave so you guys can just be alone. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, there's emotions, of course, like, hey, Dad, how
Of
you doing? All that sort
course.
of stuff. And we had a little bit of a conversation, but I could tell he was kind of getting tired. And right about then, his nurse came back in, and he said, hey, can you excuse us? I need to do some stuff. You're welcome to stay if you want. But he goes, you know, I need to do some stuff that probably be better if you were not in the room. I'm like, sure. Of course, the nurse was really cute. So it was like, really? I just want to stay in. You're a hot, hunky man,
Right?
right? I'll be the patient. Kick that out, right? So I went outside. Mom wasn't there. I'm like, I don't know where Mom went, but that was okay. And so I'm just standing outside the room, and then I hear this. That's my son, and he calls me Ricky, because that's actually my given name, Ricky. He goes, that's my son, Ricky. And he goes, you know what? He's pretty smart. I don't really understand what he does, but I think he's pretty smart, and he really helps a lot of people. Ugh. For years, when I think my dad didn't get me because of those
Yes.
words.
Exactly. They know, they see, they pay attention, and they don't always get this place, but it's beautiful when they do and when we can recognize it because, you know, trauma can with trauma and baggage, we don't always recognize reality.
Right. But also
Oh,
for us to be able to receive that without all the other bullshit that we have put in front of that for years. That was
absolutely.
I mean, even as I'm feeling the chills right now, having told that story, and
Yeah,
I haven't told it in a while, but it's interesting when you become capable, and this is where I think in midlife, we start to become capable of doing things. We used to have it all figured out, and it's going to be this way, and we know better. And suddenly I'm like, okay, there it is. And then
yeah,
suddenly I start to see that now in my own kids. You know, my kids are 26
yes.
and
Oh,
31. And now the wisdom that I see in backing off, not pushing an agenda. I don't know. It's
and knowing that they're gonna be okay. My niece is 15, and you said to me, "I
mm-hmm.
remember this moment." We were at coffee, and I mean, we got her when she was 13 months through the foster care system. So I this was after we had raised her partially. So maybe this was a year into raising her. And we were at coffee and I got up to open the door for a woman with a baby stroller. And when I sat back down, you said you would have never done that 6 months ago. And you were right, because I did not want kids. I thought kids were bullshit. I thought people with strollers were annoying and they were in my way. And so now to be not even raising, witnessing and partially raising a 15-year-old who astounds me with the wisdom that comes out of her mouth and the self-awareness and the humor. And like, I just remember because, you know, that family dynamic has been fraught with a lot of tension. So I remember times thinking, let's just get her old enough so she remembers that we loved her. And then if they go away, at least she'll remember. And I feel like we're at a point now where I'm like, "Oh, no, she knows we're her ride or dies." Like, we have deep conversations about, like, "We got you no matter what," and so I can't wait to see 30, like, wow. Ooh.
Well, it
Alright.
is interesting. I mean, here's a quick little story that ties to this. So we're leaving on vacation tomorrow, the day, you know, tomorrow, literally. And it's the first family vacation we've done in quite a few years.
I love
And
that.
my youngest one, you know, she's probably got the least amount of income out of all of us. So there's always a little bit of nudge and help, right? So as I was
Yeah.
looking, were checking our international documents today because we got a notice like, make sure these are so we sent her a little message and he goes, oh, I did. I'm like, okay, wow, I didn't need to probably send that message, but there's still that little edge of, should I check in? And then I said, hey, I don't know that you've upgraded your seat, but there's one seat left on the exit row close to us. If you want to get it, let me know and I'll pay for it. I'll pay for the upgrade. And she goes, no, Dad, I already upgraded last week. Those are the moments that you're like, we've arrived, right?
Yes.
Now, with this one on, I know what she'll do is when we get to Costa Rica, she'll be like, oh, since you offered to pay for the seat, would you buy this for me instead? I know that's what she'll do. And I will gladly like.
But negotiating.
Yeah, the negotiating is great. Yep. Yeah. So, but
love this. I love this so much. We could talk about family all day. I want to circle back to midlife men for a moment. We talk a lot to women on this show and men too, but like specifically, I'm so glad to have you on because I want to speak to men in this moment, specifically men in midlife who need but don't necessarily know how to look for support in their coming out journey. How can they, what's a first step? What can they do? I mean, I know we've got the internet and phones in our pockets, but like, what's a first step?
That's a great question, Lisa, because it actually has nothing to do just with sexuality. That coming out is about asking yourself, what is it I most don't feel aligned with and I wish I had? It could be my sexual identity. It could be tired of being that leader in the corner office. It could be wishing you had that position in the corner office, but not going for it. You have to, and this is a have to. I don't use that word those words very often.
Yeah.
But
Bring on
you
the
have to admit to yourself, this is what is wrong and this is what I want. And you have to own it. You literally have to own it. Because when we start
what if you don't have that clarity yet?
Well, the thing is you kind of do because the little nudges keep nudging you. The nudges saying,
that's true.
This,
tap,
and it's going to keep
brick.
coming back. It is, exactly. And what I found as I went through that myself, and then once I said, fine, this is who I am, I'm coming out, literally immediately, I'm like, and I don't like that high-flying career I'm in, so we're going to need to do something about that. Actually, that kind of solved itself because they said bye-bye. But that was okay. It was a golden parachute moment. I was like, fine, that works for me. But back to your question about that clarity. Here's the thing that's interesting about clarity. Okay, I know this is what I desire. This is what I want alignment with. But how? How do I do this? What will it do? Suddenly, we don't even give ourselves the breath to go, let's embrace, I know, I own, I see it. I feel it. Because we need that time to sit with that reality. I'm gay. I truly embrace that I know I'm gay. I don't know what that looks like beyond today. I don't know what that means for where I'm going with the relationship I'm currently in or not in. I don't know what that means for, we don't need to go there yet. What we need to do is give space and own, okay, I've just gotten clarity about this is me. This is just another piece of me.
I love that. This is just another piece of me. So it's not so much pressure then. It's acceptance. Right. It's surrender.
It is.
And ownership.
And again, it works. It works even with a guy who's like, I really want to have my own business and I'm so sick of sitting in this corner office, but I just can't do this. No, don't let the buts get in the way. I really want to do this. Okay. I want to own this. This is what I truly desire. And that's where I actually 9 times out of 10, that's the starting point that I do in my coaching. Okay. So let's explore that. What does that feel like? What does that look differently when you see it through the lens of this is who I am? I'm not concerned about divorce or leaving a big job. What does that look like for you to be owning, being an entrepreneur, to be coming out and being a gay man? To be a guy who's like, this health crisis I'm in no longer serves me. This potentially being pre-diabetic and potential of where we're going, I need to own. I'm pre-diabetic. So what if I didn't be that? What if I could change that? What do I get from it?
Right.
How do I feel differently? How do I look differently? Okay, we're not making all the changes. Just I want you to own that piece right there.
Okay. Baby steps, one step at a
Baby
time.
steps.
Okay.
Yep.
That's
And it's hard
awesome. Of course.
because we
I
want to
mean,
know what's next. We want to know what it looks like, And the thing
yes.
is you can craft what it looks like on the other side. I remember the moment that this is a toughie. I remember that moment that I knew I was going to tell my wife I was gay. I
Ooh,
was halfway between London and LAX on a plane. And I'm like, okay, yep, we're doing this. And there was a relief and there was
yeah.
absolute petrified, fear, right?
Panic. Yeah.
Total panic. I'm like, well, what am I going to do? 35,000 feet in the air. I guess I could try to jump out the window, but that wasn't what I was doing, was jumping out the window into my reality. And the closer I
Yes.
got to LAX and the closer I got to LAX and the closer, yes, there was one part that was heartbeat fear and another part heartbeat joy, exhilaration. Like, this is just me finally stepping in. But I sat with myself for probably 4.5 hours after I'm like, yep, this is it. Going, what's the joy? Then what's the fear? What's the joy? Kept going back to the
Yes. What are
joy,
you
to the joy, to the
swinging? What
joy.
vine are you swinging towards, as well as what vine are you swinging away from? We get so focused on this vine we're swinging away from that we forget to swing into the joy. I'm curious, once you got home, how long did it take before you had that conversation?
It was immediate.
It was
It was literally,
immediate.
I drove,
Good for
so we lived in
you.
Orange County. Orange County is where we lived at the time. I dropped into
Okay.
LAX, picked up my car. Um, no, we didn't have cell phones at the time. So I did call her from the airport and said, hey, I'm home. We've landed. And she goes, oh, great. I can't wait to see you. And I said, yeah, me too, because we have some stuff we need to talk about. Shittiest thing to do to a spouse.
You
And,
were claiming it like I'm not.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, yep.
And so you got home, and what was her level of panic?
It was pretty high. It was pretty high. And
Yeah, mine
honestly,
would
Lisa,
be.
there were 2 times on that drive from LAX to Orange County. Anybody who knows it, who knows Southern California, it's not a quick drive, especially, it was 2 hours that day. There were
Yeah.
2 times I looked in the rear view mirror of my car and there were semi trucks right behind me in the next lane. And I'm like, all I got to do is just swerve real crazily and nobody has to know any of this.
And it's over, nobody has to know. Woo!
But instead, I kept focusing on there's joy and yes, there's fear. And I know she's probably panicking and I have nowhere to go but to be truth. And when
Yes.
I walked in the door, she knew something. She knew there was something coming down
Yeah.
because at the time we did have a nanny for the girls and she'd already had our nanny like take the girls
Take
upstairs,
the
start, and it
girls.
wasn't that late in the
Okay.
evening, but take the girls, get them upstairs, play with them, baths, all that sort of stuff. And she said, okay, you told me it's something big. Let's not beat around the bush.
Good for her. Yeah.
I think what she thought was coming was I've decided that you don't have to work. You can stay at home and raise the girls, which was probably part of where her head was going because we had like
Okay.
been trying to figure this out. And it's just like, man, live in Southern California and everything. There's just, you got to have a couple of incomes to make it work most of the time. And I said, it's probably not what you're thinking it's going to be, but maybe it is. And I said, I have to tell you,
Okay.
I'm gay. And I met somebody and I realized this is who I have to be.
Good for you. What that's
So
yeah.
it was not pretty. I literally was out of the house within 24 hours. She was like, nope,
Yeah.
then we're done, which I
Yep.
totally get it.
Yep.
And I think the big reckoning there, which happens for many men, it happens men and women. I mean, I've coached a lot of women through this process too. The big reckoning is you come to terms with you, and without coming to terms with you, you do not have the strength to come to terms with everybody else.
Right.
And again, it doesn't
Wow.
matter if it's coming out. I mean, I've
Yeah.
coached guys who are like, I am going to leave the corner office. And my God, Lisa, the people who come out, what are you doing? Aren't you well, you know, it's insane what people assume
Well, it's
about,
the
oh, you've
same
got all
thing.
this. It's the same thing. Now,
People
the
will
emotions,
try to convince you to stay in the life that you've been in because they're comfortable with it. It's
exactly.
working for them, and maybe it's not, so that how dare you change?
Mhm. Yeah,
In the first 6 months of leaving my job last year, I have a very well-meaning friend who'd be like, "How's the job search going? How's the job search going? How's the job search going?" And that well-meaning friend contributed to my crowdfunding for the short film I made. Since he's seen my short film, he has not asked me that once. Now, I don't know if those 2 things are related, but I'm like, I think he understands that I'm not going back to who I was. I'm
exactly.
moving forward. And one of the things I learned in hearing your story that I'm translating to when I was crowdfunding, because asking people for money after after having asking people for money for your art after getting paid every 2 weeks for the last 7 years by a company, that was a shift. I was like, "I gotta ask people for money
Huge.
again?" And the thing that I would wake up every day, and I loved this, I'm so glad I got to this place pretty quickly, is I was like, "Hey, guess what? You get to be brave today." And not only do you get to be brave today, you get to reach out to people you care about, who care about you, and not everybody's gonna say yes, and that's okay, but you get to be brave, and they're gonna witness your bravery. And that was all, and I that now feels like how I walk through the world, is like anytime there's something uncomfortable that I have to do, and as growers and changers and evolvers, there's always something I'm like, "Oh, you just have to be brave, that's all." But that moment that you're talking about where the decision was, I can swerve into a semi, and I don't have to have the conversation, which feels sometimes like the easier choice. You chose to be brave, and your life unfolded from there.
But here's the interesting thing about, again, my perspective of this, but I've seen it repeated over and over and over again in all the people I've coached. Whether it's the guys coming out, whether it's the stuff where we reconnected, the speaking stuff, I see it all over again.
Yeah.
The moment you show your bravery to others,
Yeah.
you will find who's going to support you and who is not. Because
Yes.
either way, you are pushing a button and triggering people. The people who see you go and be brave and they're like, oh my God, hand clap, standing ovation, are your people who are like, I get you, I see you, I love what you're doing. The ones who come back, and I had a friend who said, oh my God, I can't believe you didn't tell me this. You and I have been friends for years. Da, 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 da. This was a
Yeah.
person, Lisa, actually, so it was probably right about the time I met you. I had not been active with this person for probably 8-10 years. And out of the blue,
Okay.
I get that message from her. Like, I can't believe you did this. Da, 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 da. And I, of course, went right into my beautiful little head of what somebody says is all about them. What you hear is all about you. That had nothing to do with me. It had
Exactly.
everything to do with her. And I always loved the bravery piece, because those who can't confront something in themselves, go be what they want to be, go show up in their world in their way, are the people that I piss off the most. And I'm so happy I do. And I still
That
love them to
is
death. I
Oh,
still
for
love them to
sure.
death. But what I find so fascinating is when they get pissed off about that, it doesn't have anything to do with me. Not a
Yeah.
thing.
And if we can remember that, it's so true. So let's talk about men who are already out of the closet in midlife, and are having other wake up calls, like you're saying, to the career not being what it is, or being in the wrong relationship, or whatever. Like, you've touched on a little bit, but are there other big wake up calls for midlife gay men, and how do we help
Mm-hmm.
them navigate that?
Okay, so let's roll it to a different way. So you're a gay guy. You came out in your late teens, early 20s, and suddenly you're midlife and nothing's working.
Mm.
You got a good job. Maybe you've got a partner, but you're like performing to perform. You're not
Yeah.
living your
Oof.
life to live your life. Career, the relationship or the lack of a relationship. Friendships. Friendship right now, friendships and loneliness is it's a huge thing, I think, in most human population. But in the gay male, this is
Huge.
those are the two things: friendships and loneliness. Because when you hit that 40-year-old on up mark, quote midlife, which I don't really consider 40 midlife anymore, but whatever. You've aged out of the gay community a lot of times because they want buff bodies.
Interesting.
Oh, ageism is
Okay.
huge in the gay community. It is one of the biggest things. I'm considered, which fine, I'm considered a senior, an elder in our community at this point at 62. I'm like,
Okay.
I look pretty good at 62 compared to some of you guys.
You're
I
like,
may not have the
listen.
abs in there. Yeah, but it is an interesting thing. And so here's where the crisis starts to
Okay.
happen. You can have the perfect job. I mean, many gay men have a lot of disposable income. I'm not stereotyping because not everybody, okay? But there's a lot of gay men who do because they're not raising the families. It's always just been, hey,
Right.
them, maybe a partner, right? So money, when they make it, they play with it and they have fun and more power to it. But what's missing is, who am I if this is all it is? And it's a reckoning. It is a coming to their truth moment. Like, is this all there is? And I hear that over and over and over. In fact, I just started coaching a guy, and I won't give a lot of detail, but he is very high up in a medical company, very high up, and going through some trauma.
Okay.
And he's questioning, is this all it? This is a
Yeah.
guy who has tons of disposable income, has
Yeah.
created a path and a life. He's been through some relationships. He knows the good and the bad of being in relationship. And yet he keeps asking himself, is this all there is? And he's 48 years old. This is
Have
the
you
midlife
by
stuff.
any
And it's not, I don't call it a
yeah,
crisis. I call it a midlife reckoning. I love the
it's a
midlife reckoning more than a
reckoning.
crisis. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, and I say yes to the reckoning. If you can avoid the crisis,
Mhm.
please do. Um,
Right.
yeah. So
But sometimes the
I have
crisis helps you. Sometimes the crisis helps you get to the reckoning. Let's be honest about that. So,
it's true, but I actually wanna talk about that for a second. So, we know someone who blew up her life. I don't know if you're still in contact with her, but she blew up her
yep,
life.
yep.
Divorce, but she had to go through an affair, a public firing from her job, a court case. Like, there were a lot of things that she could have avoided had she been able to say earlier, I don't want to be in this marriage anymore. I don't think she had the words for that. So I think she had to go through the crisis. And that's okay. No judgment. I'm like, "Oh, my heart aches because I know if you'd had some bravery, you could have skipped some steps, and that wasn't your journey, that's okay." But what I wanted to ask you is, have you, by any chance, seen the show DTF St. Louis?
No, I've heard about it, but I haven't
Okay.
seen it. No.
On HBO, Jason Bateman, David Harbour are midlife men in crisis, and I've never played a violin for white middle-aged men who are losing their majority in the world. I've never played that violin. I probably never will, except I watched this TV series and I thought, if this is what midlife male crises looks like, I have compassion because they did such a beautiful job illustrating it and embodying it. So for anyone, please, I make no money on this, but check out DTF St. Louis. It's on HBO, and it really gave me such compassion and understanding in a way that I don't think anything else could. So
Yeah.
just just
It is
just a
interesting
word
when
of
you
like,
see when you see those sort of things show up. And I'm going to take that kind of play off of that just real quick here. So
yeah,
we watch a lot of varied stuff. Like we'll watch period pieces, and then we'll watch anything that's going on. And because of the work that I do, I always get drawn to, let's look at that masculine energy. Let's look at that man. Let's look at what's lacking, right? So we're a little bit behind the times. We've been watching Gilded Age, and we've been
okay,
watching The Pit. Okay. They're
Oh my
two
God.
completely different sort of things. The Pit, oh my God, it is without a doubt one
We
of the
were
most
late to the pit
brilliant.
party too. Oh, it's
It's
insanely
amazing.
good.
So what's his name? Noah? What's his name? The
Noah
actor, the lead?
Wiley.
Yeah.
Whew.
Oh, there are moments, and I'm not going to give it away because anybody who's not a Pit fan, I'm not going to tell you a whole lot, but there are moments where you
Yeah.
can see his midlife bullshit just playing out in that character so loud and so fiercely. Flip to Gilded
He,
Age, where
yeah.
you got the barons and all that, and I'm like, the same stuff was happening back in the 20s. We just said that's okay because this is what men are supposed to be. So you contrast that with Noah's
So
character in The
interesting.
Pit, of the vulnerability and the questioning of his own how he should show up in the world. And it's such an interesting dynamic to get to watch this. And for anyone
Love
listening,
that.
learn from the contrast.
Yes. And I will say, I haven't watched The Gilded Age, but The Pit, the way specifically Noah Wiley embodies his trauma and is
Yes.
still quote unquote functional. I'm like, that is a
Yes.
masterclass in midlife. That's a masterclass in nuance. I mean, I'm so happy he's getting all the accolades he's getting because, like,
Yes.
he's
Me too.
embodying something that's so relevant to the culture.
Mm-hmm.
We've gone so off
Mm-hmm. Well,
track,
and I
but
think
let's keep going.
I know, but the other thing, real quick about that, a lot of the characters in that entire show, I mean, the lead nurse, the blonde gal, oh my God, she is
Oh,
so fierce. I want to be her when I grow up. I just want to be that
same.
badass. Yet you can see the same stuff in her own
Yeah.
trauma, midlife,
Well,
everything.
and you
So,
see it with everybody. You see their trauma bubbling, but yes, specifically the midlife trauma is really interesting. Hers is really interesting too. The duality of her and Noah, like it's so fun to watch them play off. Oh, it's so good. Okay. I want to talk about hormonal shifts because perimenopause and menopause, that's no joke. But we don't
yep.
talk on the show about male hormone shifts. So, what does that look like for men in midlife?
I'm going to be really raw and honest because you know me, that's the way.
That's the only way we can be on the show. I've talked about how my periods ghosted me, and, she may never come back, that bitch.
My ejaculation has ghosted me. It's still there. I
It's
call it
still there.
it's the dribble, not the explosion,
Yeah.
okay? Yet, a lot of mine has to do with a lot of other stuff. I've had 2 strokes. I don't know that you even know that, Lisa. I've had 2
I
strokes.
didn't know that.
Yeah, I've had 2 strokes and came through both of them amazingly. So now I'm on a lot of
Oh my God, I'm
different,
so glad you're so
pills and stuff
okay.
to manage
Strokes
through that.
can,
Yeah,
yeah.
it can be pretty major. But what I've also learned about that piece of my world, and especially quote unquote, and so here's where the stereotypical bullshit of being gay comes in. Oh my gosh, he's really not worth anything now because the poor guy can't even have a good sex life. There's so many other ways to deal with some of this stuff that happens. Now, in my head, no pun intended, in my head, there's still those moments where, like, I'm afraid to even go there. I will
Yes.
disappoint my husband. I will disappoint myself.
Yes.
And it does play with you. And I've been on testosterone. That was years ago. Didn't change anything. And that was pre all of this sort of stuff, right?
Yeah.
I have man boobs, and I'm not afraid to say that. And it bugs the crap
Yeah.
out of me at times. But then there's
Yeah.
other times I'm like, this is part of my body is hormonally changing because of what's going on. And guess what? If I have man boobs and I can't have a good hard erection and ejaculate, I'm still alive though. And I still can
Yes.
have a beautiful
And
conversation.
you can still experience pleasure. I think
Yes.
what I've learned is that pleasure changes in midlife. Like, you know, I used to be the man in my relationship. I wanted to get to completion and be done. And my husband was the Latin lover. Let's linger and I was like, no. And now I'm like, oh, well, completion is probably off the table for him. So like at some point we'll just be done. And so we call it visiting time. It's not even visiting hours because it's not an hour. It's just like do they want to visit each other, and let's see how long that lasts, and don't try and last because I can only go so long, and and it has shifted, and I'm grateful for the openness of our conversations about it. I'm grateful for the vulnerability that allows us to still have a beautiful sex life and acknowledge and honor that it's different
And that's the
than it
key.
used to be. Yeah.
Hmm.
And being
Ironically,
honest about it.
I just wrote a post about like what do you do when your man's sex life is different, your sex drive is different than your man's. And
Yeah.
I was really like coming from, and it's just a quick social post, not like a big article, but it will be. I'm writing for another magazine at this point, and I just finished their article. I'm like, I think next month I'm going to talk about this whole thing about when the sex changes, and you shouldn't freak out as a gay man. You shouldn't freak out as a man
Yes.
or one, but you really shouldn't freak out as a gay man because, yes, I'm going to be honest, gay men seem to focus on the sex life a lot, right? But what I have
Yeah.
found is there's so many other beautiful avenues to explore, to enjoy, honest conversations that I haven't had. Like, what really turns you on now that I can't do certain things,
Right.
or you can't do certain things? And there's a lot more fantasy play. There's a lot more exploration, touching, feeling out, where it, has been. So those are the moments to me that give you freedom. And again, it's
Oh, yes.
another interesting little closet door to open and to be able to admit and own my sex drive, my sex life. It has changed, but I'm discovering the different ways through it.
Exactly. And I think that's so important because I don't think pleasure ever has to stop. It's just, what does pleasure look like given our bodies, our ages, whatever the fill in the blank is? Like, is pleasure just a stroke on the arm now? Like it can be
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
anything and everything. And there is, I think it's important to give space to mourn because there are some things that you mourn. Like, I used to be super juicy and take that for granted. And
Right.
now I'm like,
Yep.
girl, like, could we get a tear or two? It's
Right.
just not the
Exactly.
same. And
We
yeah.
we were driving home from LA a few weeks ago, and one of the most endearing moments, and I love just being quiet in the car with my husband and knowing
Yeah.
that it's cool. Nothing has to be weird, right? But one of the most endearing moments is when I reached over and I just started like rubbing his neck, just holding onto his neck, and suddenly I'm like, I'm actually very turned on here. Like, can we pull over the side of the car? Let's be teenagers in the woods, sort of thing, right? And I thought, you know what? I don't know that it would have gone anywhere even then, but I'm like, these erogenous zones that, God knows when that book was written, many, many moons ago. But it's an interesting thing when you start to figure out, where else do I find pleasure in the relationship, in the body, in their body, in
Yes.
my body, that doesn't have to be wham bam, thank you, ma'am, or sure.
Yes. It's a whole new era, and it goes through phases, and I think the key is to confront it with yourself, the shifts, and find ways to talk about it with your partner so you can be vulnerable, they can be vulnerable, you can hear each other, and you can receive and be comforted as well as heard. We have family friends who got divorced because she said, "I never wanna have sex with you again, go get a girlfriend," and he said, "I don't wanna do that," so she said, "Well, then you should divorce me." And so they got divorced, and now he's in a new relationship and very happy, and they're still close, but I look at that as a lesson of that worked for them and great. I don't want that for myself, so I want to always be as open, as honest as possible so we can work through things. Yeah, it's so interesting. So, so we kinda talked about it. We were gonna talk about deadbed relationships, but I think we've kinda touched on it. I wanna
But I
make
think
sure
here's the
we
thing with deadbed. Here's one thing I want to
yes.
say about that. Again, I'm going to say own that there's a deadbed relationship, because if you're ignoring it, you're not having the conversations. There's the problem. That is the problem.
Sure.
You have to talk.
Yes. You have to, yes. Oof. And it can be like,
It
I'm just,
isn't easy, but it's okay.
yeah, I'm just, again, it goes back to give yourself permission to be brave. Um, because the minute you open that conversation, it will be less scary. And now you've opened a door that you can revisit. Like the things we're afraid to say when we actually say them, as terrifying as they are when we haven't said them, once we've said them, they can set us free and they can keep the door open for ongoing dialogue. So I really encourage everyone, it's something that, you and I used to work on together when I was coaching, is helping people find their voice and find the language to use their voice. If we don't use it in midlife,
Mm-hmm.
oof, when are we going to use it? That's what I love about
Exactly.
why it's not a crisis and it's more of an awakening and a reckoning, is like, what haven't you said that needs to be said?
And what
Yeah.
are you not living that needs to be lived? I mean, let's get real. If you're
Yes.
not living
Oof.
it, time is, I mean, I hate to say it, but time is ticking. And, I mean, you mentioned, I don't know whether it was on the podcast before we started talking, you had lunch with your dad, 85 years
Yeah.
old. I just spent time with my 83-year-old and 80-year-old mom. And you kind of can't help but go, okay, well, yeah, not that far off. Time flies, really flies these days. But I also don't want that to be the focus of, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. No, be joyful in, let's go live and be who we want to
Yes.
be and show up the way you want to live. Period.
Yes. Yes, my 85-year-old dad just got a new car, a used car, because his car died on a car trip with his girlfriend. He has a girlfriend, I love this. And, when he told me he was getting a car, in the back of my head, I was like, maybe you should just stop driving. And so at lunch, we were talking about it, and he's like, well, I'm probably only going to drive for another 3 years. I was like, oh, well, you brought it up. Let's chat about it. And one of the things that we talked about,
Yeah.
and so I'm his go to person. He has said, when I need to stop driving or when I need to go into assisted living, you're going to be the one to tell me. And I'm not going to like you, but you're going to be the one. And I'm like, got it. So I said to him at
Got it.
lunch, I
Thanks
said,
for giving me the permission.
yeah, I said, the last couple times I've seen you and been in your home, it's become increasingly clear to me, and I'm sorry to be so morbid, you want to die in your home. You don't want to go to a facility. So we need to revisit that conversation that we had a couple years ago. What does the new plan look like? And he's like, well, I'm going to have a nice little young lady come live with me and nurse me. And I was like, okay, we didn't talk about that. So, I was like, do you have the finances for that? And we didn't get too much into that, but I was like, all right, so that will be the new plan. Because before we went and visited homes and got pricing and. So I think, oof, midlife doesn't always prepare you for the kinds of conversations you're going to have with your elderly parents or your
No,
children.
right. Because
Yeah.
it's on both sides. You got to be
It's on
looking to the
both
future,
sides.
but you also have to be looking to the past. Yep.
So
Yep.
speaking of, you and your partner are empty nesters, about to go on vacation
Yes.
with your kids, your grown kids.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
Greatest
Yep.
gift and or struggle with being an empty nester?
Greatest gift, probably letting go of a lot of stuff we just didn't need in our lives anymore. We moved from a very not elaborate big space when we lived in Southern California, but I mean, we had, the pool, the almost 3,000 square foot home, and we loved it. We do miss that to some degree. We overcompensated and moved into a townhouse here in Central Coast, California. Love this little place we're in. But we let go of so much stuff. We just,
Yeah.
this isn't part of what we need. This isn't what we need.
Yeah.
Even now, I mean, I love, you can kind of see artwork and stuff behind me. We have art everywhere and I love art. But even at this point, we're getting ready to go on this vacation. And typically vacation is when we buy some piece of art to like, this is something we got. I don't anticipate, unless something just really strikes my eye, because there's not a lot of room here, or I
Yeah,
learned to purge,
exactly.
or I learned to,
Yes.
okay, this thing comes down, now this replaces it for a season, right?
Yes.
Probably that was one of the biggest joys of realizing it's okay to let go. I think one of the biggest challenges has been stepping fully into accepting life is moving. Life is moving.
Yeah.
Life is moving. And I think there is a reckoning that all of us, and I can't tell anybody when it's going to be for you. It may be because of something that's happened. Ironically, Lisa, it wasn't the strokes that did it for me, because I was very fortunate. I came out of both of those strokes walking,
I'm
talking,
so
no
glad.
residuals, anything.
Yeah.
But I also realized, hey, I used to be like Mr. Rick exercise, and if I don't start doing some of that, I gotta stay focused on that. And there was a challenge to that, because I'm like, it's almost like I'm tired of I'm tired of having to take care of myself, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I think that's a reckoning in and of itself that's been harder. It's like, I know now it is a necessity. If I
Yes.
don't take care of myself,
Yes.
I will definitely see the other side. And I'm not talking about dying. I see the challenges.
Yes.
And that's been a little bit interesting to navigate. I don't wear
Okay.
glasses all the time, but I sure wear them a whole lot more than I used to.
Yeah.
Sleep, as you mentioned, sleep is not my friend. No matter what I do, it is not my friend. And so those are the challenges, like starting to really deal with, ooh,
Yes.
this body is not what it used to be. That's probably
Used
been a
to
bigger
be.
challenge.
Yes, I so relate to that. I was recently at the eye doctor getting my annual checkup, and it wasn't a fully detached retina thing, and it was when I was took it was unfortunately when I was back to school shopping last summer with my niece. So we were at the mall, we were in our second store, and all of a sudden I started to see this spiraling squid ink in this eye. And I thought I was having a stroke. Because I have a friend who had a stroke and described it, and he was like, "Eye disturbances and a headache, and that was it." And that was what was happening. So I freaked out. My husband and my niece took me to the ER. It was a slightly detached retina thing, but it bled, and that's why I saw the ink. So I was relaying this to my eye doctor because she had referred me to a retinal specialist who was amazing. And I said, "Man, doctor, out of all the things about aging that bother me the most, it's my eyes." And she was like, "Oh, well, Lisa, you have something to look forward to because you'll have cataracts. And then once the cataracts are gone, you'll see better." And I was like, "So I have cataract surgery to look forward to," is what you're saying. Thanks.
But it is but that is an interesting metaphor of what we were just talking about. Sometimes you have to go through the trauma and the pain to
Yeah.
get to the clarity, right?
Yeah. And I'm not looking
And
forward to
there's so
cataract surgery, but,
many, no, but it's
but
not
yes,
that,
to
I mean,
be,
I don't want to say it's not that big, because you never know,
yeah. Yeah. But yeah. So yes, the reckoning of my body will probably always be achy if I do Pilates twice a week, but I'd rather be achy doing it twice a week than not do it and not have mobility and fall and break something.
Right.
Like my
Exactly.
sister broke her ankle 2 years ago at Christmas, and it took her 3 surgeries in a full year of rehab because she wasn't terribly mobile to begin with. And my mother didn't take care of her body at all, so her health or exercise at all. So I've seen how it can be, and I'm like, note to self, I choose a different way. Doesn't mean I'm gonna escape scot-free. There's gonna like, I had my squid thing, and, like, there's gonna be things,
No.
but, like, I'm being conscious based on what I've seen in
Exactly.
my own family. Um,
And
I
that's a
wanna ask you 2
key.
more
To
questions.
me, that's a key.
Yes.
Like, see what you see. So,
Yes,
yes. Okay.
and
So, two more questions. I'm loving this
yeah,
conversation.
I know, we could go on forever. Okay. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Well, I thought about this a lot, and I could quip, just trust the process. That would be an easy out, right?
Oh,
Instead, I would like to say trust the unknown, because
thank you for that.
when we don't know is where the adventure
Where
begins.
the magic
It's where
is.
the brilliance begins. It's where the magic is. And we are so conditioned as humans, like, I need to know. Every guy that has
Yes.
come to me to work on their coming out is, tell me what I need to know. And once I landed on that trust the unknown thought, Lisa, I said, I want you to trust that what you don't know is going to be your best guide through this.
Ugh,
Because if I could
I
hand you
love
what you
that.
know, and
Ugh,
it's hard for people to hear what I just said. I want to admit that. Trust the unknown. Because it's like, well, that's kind of a juxtaposition. That's a weird thing to say. You don't know the unknown, but that's why I say it. Trust the unknown.
yes. And I instantly softened because I've seen all the times I haven't, and then the unknown has been my greatest gift. And I felt the resistance that I felt and then the surrender, and it's just like flipping a page over, like, yes, facing the unknown. I did not plan to quit my job last August. That was not the plan. Um, I did not plan to, like, raise my niece. That was not the plan. Those moments of, like, I'm sorry, of, those moments of unknown, but also those moments of resistance. There was a lot of resistance. And if
Yes.
I had trusted the unknown, it would have been smoother. So I really appreciate you saying that. Doesn't mean anyone else is going to stop their struggle because we all go on our journey. Um,
No.
oh, I love that. You just rocked my socks off today. Thank you. Okay. Final question. What's bringing you the most joy right now?
Trusting the unknown. I hate
I
to
love
say
it.
that, but
Own it.
because okay, what the listeners don't know is I just lost my gig of 7.5 years, a
Yeah.
job that I really did enjoy and I loved. Yet, because of the unknown, I'm on that ride to get my next book published. I'm on that ride to build back up my gay men's coaching business. I'm on that ride to work with speakers only in the way that I enjoy doing it most. I love working with
Yes.
professional speakers to up their game on stage and do that stage quote unquote performance without it looking like a performance and deliver a damn good speech.
Yes.
I love it. All of this, you can tell by the enthusiasm, it was what brings me freaking alive. But I don't know if any of that's going to work out, and that's okay because I'm going to go on vacation as if I have all the money in the world. I'm going to go and keep pushing through because on the other side of the unknown is where the magic is going to begin to happen. Even if it's I find the other job for the last few years of my working life that just cranks my, turns my crank, great. But for
Yes.
now, I'm just wallowing, literally wallowing like a pig in shit in the unknown.
Love it. Well, as someone who quit her job, made a short film, went to Paris, and making a short film and going to Paris are expensive, but I still did them, even though I quit my job.
Yes.
I can tell
Yep.
you, you're making the right choices and be that pig in that shit. I can't wait to see what's on the other side for you.
Me either. Me
Thank you for this conversation
either.
today. Oh my gosh.
Of
Woo!
course. Thank you for trusting. Well, not even trust, just reconnecting and going, let's do this. Let's do this. So, and any
I'm so
listeners,
grateful.
I hope you just keep, I just hope you keep listening to Lisa's podcast because midlife is a journey. It is not a destination, folks. And just go for the ride.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm so grateful. One of my things I'm most grateful for is being able to reconnect with you at this age and stage. That's one of the gifts of this time. So thank you for that. If our
Yes.
listeners want to know more about you, your work, where can they go?
The easiest place is Rick Clemons, Clemons, just Rick C. Lemons. Okay, Lemons, just put a C in front of that, Lemons, rickclemons.com. That's where everything is happening. There'll be some new stuff when I launch Say It, Mean It, Land It, the new speaking thing. But go there and you'll find everything you need. And you don't have to be gay. You don't have to be a gay man. I love working with people in that midlife transition. Like, what is next? What do I have
Yes.
to do to jump into the unknown and embrace it?
Ugh. Well said. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us at Midlife today. As Rick said, it is a journey, not a destination. So we are to be continued.